Good evening, people. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Ben. Nice to see you. Nice and ready. That's cool. I'm just going to pop out the chat participants and live chat. I think I got that right. Good evening. We're a little bit early. Just putting some paint out for tonight. Go. Can you hear me, guys? Let me know if you can. Restore chat. Why is the chat stopped? Can anybody hear me? Hi, John. Hi. Two live streams, both of which I want to watch at once. I think I'll watch Jenny Kirk's Model Railway stream tonight and watch your stream next week. No problem. Whatever you want to do, mate. Can you hear me? Oh, good. Okay, John. I wasn't sure because I couldn't hear or I wasn't getting any feedback. So that's cool. We'll wait a little while longer. Good. Glad you can hear. I will be dipping in and out tonight as I'm running a Zoom meeting for my wife also. Okay, Ben, no problems at all, mate. But I'm relying on you for numbers as usual. You're my people keeper, as it were. It should be a bit of fun. I'm looking forward to this tonight. I'm not going to press out any keys or codes tonight either. I'm going to keep that out the way. That was a little bit crazy of me the other day. I managed to edit that little bit out at the front, so only you guys saw that. But nevertheless, it was a little bit silly to do. Hi, Derek. Nice to see you. Good. I don't know where the ladies are tonight. Ben, Luke. Hi, Luke. Good evening. I don't know if Wendy's joining us tonight. I hope so. I'm sure she will be, and Judy and anyone else. Is your nan joining us tonight, Luke? Do you know? We'll get cracking very soon. It's just gone the hour, so we'll first light. Oh, we like that. That's good. You're right, John. I do love painting water. In fact, I tell you what, my second book I did a few years ago was all about painting water in acrylic. So, yeah, I do love the subject. Hi, Bexhill West. Nice of you to join us. Right. I'm going to start getting on. I think everybody who's coming has had enough time, and others will join us, I'm sure, as we go. I'm surprised Wendy's not already here. Jim, nice to see you too. How is it in the States tonight? I hope it's good. So, how many are watching at the moment, Ben, if you're about? Oh. Hi, Wendy. I thought you wasn't here tonight. I would have been very surprised, but I thought maybe you got other precious things to do. But thanks for joining us. 13 so far. We'll make a start. All right. So tonight I'm going to be painting some dolphins. Now the picture you're seeing is a little bit different than the one advertised. This was the one I always intended to do, but I couldn't find it, so I needed to get something out there to suggest what I was doing, so I put the other one out. But this is the one I'm doing, and you can see from the photograph that the actual animals themselves are a little too far forward in the image, so I have set them to go back a little bit and give a much better composition, I hope. Your yummy dinner, you should have had it earlier. I finished mine ages ago. Anyway, sorry, I digress. So now for the astute among you, you will see that my palette has expanded. No, you can't, because the picture's involved. It has expanded. I've gone back to my normal palette basically, for the time being, because I tried out the 3-color process colors, and they work very, very well, but there is a small there is a small caveat to the fact that, like all 3 colors, they are limiting on certain aspects, such as the one that I was using. I couldn't get those punchy oranges that I wanted, so I needed to dive back to that. All right, now the part about this is the dolphins, and I'm just going to I might take a little while just to get these drawn right, because the rest of it will come quite easy. I just need to get these to look like dolphins. Now I've got to say, I'm a wildlife artist by right, and that's what I've built all my 30 odd years of as a professional on. And do you know, I've only ever painted one other dolphin, and that was only the head of a dolphin. So this is the first time I've ever painted not one whole dolphin, but 2 whole dolphins. So we'll see how it goes. Sylvia, hi, nice for you to join us. Where are you from? If that's not a rude question, just asking out of politeness. We've got all sorts joining in from all over the place, normally anyway. Right, I'm gonna just literally feel my way with this dolphin, and I'm not quite sure of I'm not quite sure of many aspects with a dolphin, to be quite honest with you. I know they are stunning. This one or this little pod that followed our boat was on my honeymoon many years ago now, in off the coast of Florida, and we had just gone out and had a lovely trip to a place called Usepa Island, or Usepa Island, something like that. And so yeah, these followed us on the way back and played in the bow waves, not the bow waves, the stern waves actually on this occasion. Right now I'm just looking at the shape generally, and I'm mucking about. Sorry, shall I start that again? I'm not mucking about, I am simply trying to feel my way. That's what I meant to have said. That's what I should have said. And when you're drawing any animal, any wildlife subject, or any subject at all, come to that, is use as many reference points that will give you an indication of where things are and where they line up. And you'll get a good feeling for the shape of something, and you can see that this fin here is way back a little bit from this one. This one could come a little more forward than the other one, so I'm just going to take a little bit out and just bring that round like so, and we get somewhere where it should be. I'm going to take that slightly at a lesser angle. We've got a lot of white water in here, and then we've got this junior coming down like so. Hi Sue, nice that you could join us. Okay, Sylvia, you're not far then. You're not one of our internationals. I didn't mean to be rude. It's great that you could join us. It's it's a porpoise here in America. A dolphin is a fish. Ah, okay. So I thought that these were dolphin, but I stand corrected, Jim. Sorry, mate. I had no idea. I must read up more. Anyway, I'm going to come in and I'm going to keep on with this drawing because I have to get this part right, or else the whole painting just will not work. So you've got to, I mean, the old adage is that before you can become a great artist, you need to become good at drawing. So this is part of that process. Now let's put Junior up, and he's a little way back from Mum's face. So let's just, and we're judging, we're looking at all the little areas that give us a clue as to where the next part is. So for instance, there is this gap down here between Mum and Litland, so we're going to give that a little bit of space there before we come on up, which might mean that I've got to drop this part down. So it's all this little feely and find out where things should go. So I think we're going to come round like so, and I'm just going to put that part to about there. I think he actually should come quite a bit down. It's amazing when you think you've got something going in the right direction, that how far off you can actually be. So let's just bring that down to about there and through here, and let's just come around with the shape before we try and put the fin in. We'll put the dorsal fin in later. Let's just give this fella a little bit more space between himself and his mama, and almost straight under there. It's got that lovely shape to the mouth, but they've got this sort of lovely part almost straight going under the belly, a little curvature in the tummy, and the eye is somewhere down there. And then we can put the other fin in and then drop this back down into the water here. So you don't see a lot of the body from about there on. It's all under the water, it's rising out. So Mum, we are looking at Mum and seeing how she is in respect to him, and I feel that she needs to come up somewhat here. Take some of the excess paint off, picked up a bit of blue. Yeah, all right, yeah, I'd take that one. All right, Jim. Yeah, okay, that just threw me a little bit. I'm just going to put in there, and then let's just put in that section there. Something of that nature, I think, is probably not too bad. And let's bring the the dorsal fin up and around. Lovely curved shape to it. Maybe not as short and stumpy as I've just made it. Now, although it's getting to the point where I can't really see what the heck I'm doing in terms of marks, it doesn't really make a lot of odds, because I will sort of draw parts of this as I move forward with the painting. So I think that should come out from there a little more. So we've got that shape like so. All the time I'm looking and I'm reassessing and I'm correcting as I go. So that will disappear. Lots of goings on in terms of getting this about right. And once I've got the drawing done, then I can start refining some of the shapes in different parts of this. The lovely colours, and just suggesting some of these darks and lights that are running through the shape of the muscle tones and therefore the body on the skin of the animal. So I'm just going to play around with this a little bit. That's looking a little bit more like a duck-billed platypus. We'll take that back. That wasn't good. Hi Mark, nice of you to join us. Yeah, I'm hoping it's going to be a good one tonight. I've been unsure whether... Well, I've wanted to do this painting for some time. I'm just going to bring that down like so and get that shape in first, back to the eye. Yeah, I've been waiting to do it for some time, Mark, and so I felt that, you know, we've done an awful lot of other things. I felt it was nice to be able to do a nice wildlife piece for you guys. So I'm just checking that drawing out first, and then we got the bottom part, and that will go there and create the throat, and that will go back into there, something like that. Again, if it's not quite right later on, we can play around with that. I've always said that nothing is absolutely set in stone until I sign it off and it's completed, in the sense of I don't want to do any more to it. Now, even the cheek here, you've got a little shape here which is an indication of the little one's eye. It should come down to about here, and you know, you've got that little shape. So you've got the throat comes into there, and then you've got the cheek, and then the eye marks go up. Again, you've got these lovely shapes going over. Now I've got this I mean, the body on here really does need to come back, so it's another change. Let's bring that to there. Let's bring mum to about there and let that come off like so, and then I will bring her tail like so. And then this little fella, going to have a longer body here, of course, and then we're going to bring his tail back a little further. I keep saying tail, I mean dorsal fin. Sorry for those of you who are taking notes of my very poor ability to identify what part of this fish or mammal that I am painting. So I think that's probably a little closer. It's the whole thing is a little bigger than I had anticipated it being. So yeah, if I ever paint this one again, and there's a very good chance I might, then I will probably put them a lot smaller or put them on a bigger canvas so I can get a little bit more of the water around them. But for the purposes of this, I think it will just about get on the canvas in a nice way. I'm quite happy at that at the minute, so I'm going to work on with putting some darks in, and I'm going to start off with some phthalo blue and some ultramarine blue mixed together, a little bit of red just to take that off and make the violet a bit dirty, a little bit darker and browner, as it were, a little warmer. That's just going to put that in and oh dear, it's going to be one of those nights. There we go, that's a little better. Make it move with a bit of liquid going in, a bit more blue into that mix, and let's just take that down through there, and suggesting the head. It's a little bit too bulbous, so I'm just taking that back just slightly and taking that dark, lovely, rich, bluish, warm colour all the way through there, which is the dark part of the top of this body. And I'll leave that in there. I'm using the dagger to maximum effect, as it were, and let's just see how that looks. And again, if I'm not happy, I can always alter the drawing, as I've been doing. There's nothing saying it's got to stay as is. Right, so we can cut in and play around with these shapes further in. Where are we? Just checking on the chat. Teresa, I didn't see you popped in there. Nice to see you this evening. Thank you very much for joining us. Right, now I'm just going to put in this area here, which is a little warmer than I've got it there. Let's just add a little bit more red, cadmium red light to that colour. Let's bring that on through like so. and take this shape color all the way down into the mouth and the jaw. Take that all the way through there and cover up the eye to a point. Not too worried about that right now. We're going to come back into that and we're going to create some of these lovely soft textures in the head and the body further in. I'm really just blocking in at this stage, trying to make sure that we get everything pretty much on track where it should be. Just redrawing, reassessing everything as I go. Alright. Now, alright, just gonna figure out, because I've lost Litland's dorsal fin, so I think it's somewhere about here. I'll put it in there. No, I think it was a little further back here. I'll put it in there. And again, if it's wrong, we'll alter it. I'm not too worried. Okay. And putting that lovely colour of blue through, almost in a straight line, all the way through to the head. And we'll play around with the finality of that further in. But for the short term, it's all we need to do. And it's a little bit warmer once again, so a little bit more red, a little bit of cadmium red, just to dirty the mix, and put that in through here, and that will be our body as it then goes into the waterline, just about there. Let's get that pectoral fin in. I got that one right, pectoral fin. So let's get that one in. It's a little straighter, it doesn't come back as I've got it, so let's just check that and put that in again, like so. Alright. Yes, I took the photo off the back of a boat, Luke, and it was an awesome half-hour trip back from the island on this boat, and this pod was just having so much fun in not only in the stern wake but also the bow wave. I stayed down the back end, but you know, people were getting photos up the front end too, as it were, the bow end. Just putting a little sense of light in, just to give me some degree of where I should be going with this. Now, like any wildlife painting, the more time you give it, the more refined you're going to make it, and the better the job will be ultimately. But we don't have the luxury of that sort of time tonight, so whatever I do for you has got to be done in the next 3 days of this demonstration, or you're going to get bored. So be prepared. I'm just coming up here with some slightly better lights in here and a little bit more warmth on the side of this here, and using a little bit of raw sienna for that, just to give that slightly yellowish appearance to the body, and then coming forward and to the mouth. Now, any misshape we can redefine with the water. So I'm not overly concerned at anything that's not quite looking as I would like it to at this stage. I'm just merely blocking in as much of the detail as I can get sorted before we go into the sea, as it were. So I'm going to come, I want a slightly warmer. I'm going to come back in with some sienna and use that into this bluish colour, so it will go to a dirty grey, which is not a problem at all. Okay, lots of lovely colours in the side of these creatures. Looking at the shape here, and we need a bit more dark. Just going to bring that back up into there. It sort of goes up the side, I assume part of the muscle tone, and we've got that lovely dark mark of water and shine from the body. Like that. Okay, and quite, that's not bad. I'm just softening some of the marks, taking out some of the brush marks, not too many. Alright. Okay, so I'm now gonna just tap in a little bit of light, a little bit of tap of red into there. It's a bit pinkish. I'm not worried about that at the moment. I'm just going to put in the lighter part and suggest my lightest areas. It's not going to be the total lightest areas, but it is merely a start. It's a suggestion around the breathing hole, the blowhole, or whatever that part is actually technically called, if you were a zoologist. And I've got several friends who are, so I've got to be careful what I say in case any of them happen to be watching. I'm sure they're not, so I can probably get away with quite a bit. Right. I want to call it a blowhole, but I'm sure it's probably got a much better name than blowhole. I'm going to suggest a little bit of light onto that one of that adult and the mother. I'm assuming it's the mother with the calf. Whether it is or whether not, I affectionately think that it is, so we're going to stay with that idea. Just going to put a little bit of light around that part of the fin. It may or may not stay, it's just an indication so I don't carry on painting and forget all about the heck that I put it there. And I want to put a little bit of pale blues. I'm going to use a little bit of, I'm going to go a little bit of phthalo blue, give that a bit more of an exciting aqua colour. Right, leading off the top of the blowhole here, all the way around her top side, like so, and I'm going to blend it in, and that'll be fine for now. Right, have a little drink, little water break, and it is only water for anyone asks. The Guinness comes later, after I've performed. Alright. Okay, how many watching, Ben? Okay, so now let's start turning to a bigger brush and bigger dagger, and let's start looking at our water. And the thing is, these are our darkest elements, so we need to protect that. So I'm going to go in first and foremost with a mix of the phthalo blue, a little bit of the ultramarine blue, and a touch of Indian yellow. It's going to slightly green it out. If it's too much, we can play around with that later on. But I just love this beautiful sea color that you get out there. Sadly, we don't get these beautiful colors in our coastal waters. Well, not that I've seen. But out there they are just stunning. So I'm just going to tap in a few of these colors to start with and just see and sort of almost feel my way. Tap that. It's quite greenish there. I'm going to put that in and take that all the way underneath the animal's throat, and I think it could do with being a little lighter. Now if you hear some tapping on the behind me, it's not anyone trying to get in, it's merely we've got this ultra huge wind going on, which we've had for the last 2 days, as most of you in the UK will know. So I'm just going to come in here, and yeah, we still got it, and I've got a lovely big old flower pot right outside the wall, and it keeps knocking on the wall, it keeps tilting and tipping just slightly. Now here you can see I am refining the negative space of my drawing. So whereas I had all that dark matter, I'm just checking and seeing where I need to make alterations with the drawing before I proceed. So I'm just coming in, redefining the shapes just a little better than I had them. Just a little tap down there, a little tap around here, and we carry on this color all the way through, and I want to take it slightly darker, slightly bluer, maybe even a little touch of magenta into that. Take that over and round and off through the side of the nose, as it were, of the adult. I'm going to shorten that a little bit. It just doesn't want to be as long, I don't think. But then you've got the full measure of the lower jaw, which you can see a lot more of than I first showed. I put a bit more blue in, a bit more ultramarine blue to that, and tapping in some yellow too, trying to get that darker colour. And it's very hard because I've got the studio lights right on this point, so it's not easy to see exactly where I'm at with that, but hopefully that's not so bad. And then we've got this beautiful pinkish green, so I'm going to use some of these other colours that I first put down. We can change them, but let's just go in with them first off. And we can blend and play around with any of this moving forward, but let's just establish ourselves first. Let's get our colours, our lights to our darks in the water before we carry on. Wendy, is Judy here? I didn't see her name come up. I might be wrong. I'm just skimming through. Teresa's in. No, Judy's got stuck in the garden. Right, I'm just going to add a little bit more of the blues into there. Went a little bit too green, so let's come back. Make that a little bit of that in there, and let's just play around with some of these colours moving away. We are going in for like a mid colour, and we can actually generate darks and lights from that quite happily. I'm just trying to block in the overall shape, and I'm sort of going in and changing little bits of the drawing as I move forward, as carefully and as delicately as I can. It may be that I've got to go in and make some even greater changes, but there is a little bit of a depression in the skull there on the animal. Now, one thing I will say with people, when they do wildlife or people or anything that is like this, and I don't just mean with water, I'm talking about with a subject in the center of the picture, maybe like these dolphin, an animal, whatever, and they put on a background to it, and you find that they get this paint line where they bring the background up so far, frightened of bringing the paint right up to the image, and then you get this different color or a different brush mark that goes all the way, follows the traces of the shape of the animal round, and it looks as though the animal's been stuck on. That is a huge no-no. Try always and not do that in your work. It's easy to think that you can, do that, you get the color in there, it will work out, but it doesn't look right. I can assure you, it really doesn't look right. Now I'm just going to put in a few colors that just suggest a differential in the water, because what I want to do is I need to use the darkness here at this wave as it comes through and touches the animal in terms of the placement of the animal to the background, and that way, by having this darker bit here, I can then put a highlight on the animal itself, and it's actually called counter change. Basically you're using, or you're looking to identify areas of background that are opposite to areas on the main subject, so that you can throw the item out, whether it's a vase or a piece of fruit as a still life, or whether it's an animal that you're portraying. Try and look for the little areas like this where we've got a light phase and a dark phase. Now we've got the light that takes back over, so this here, this light comes all the way through here and cuts this color right off, as it were, heads it off at the pass, and then just comes into the top of that dorsal fin, and that will then throw the top of that dorsal fin out sufficiently to be seen very nicely. Thank you very much. And we may have to lighten it further on, but at the moment that will do. So we've got this area blocked in, and I think that's looking quite nice. I hope it is anyway. We will have to look at some of this because it is, at the moment, it's sort of following the shape, and I hate that too. Let's just come in and literally change the shape of that. Let's bring it slightly lower into the head, like that. Okay, we'll use it to that point because we do need to bring that light down anyway into that area. And then we want to suggest a swathe of color moving over and beyond. So there's just like this little color suggestion of the wave that's gone on before, or part of the action of the boat that's created another wave, but it's sort of that further forward, so it's dissipated somewhat. There's quite a bit of warmth into that, so a bit of violet in that blue as well. I'm going to bring some of that in just to suggest that. You can create some beautiful colors in these lovely waters. I want to make the changes a little more subtle, so I'm just going to blend them together ever so slightly. Good brush to do this with. That's quite a strong colour, but we're going to leave it as it is at the moment. Just take that into the side of the head there, and just, we may change that, but at the moment it's okay. We'll leave as is. Yes, I know. I had a bit of a horror first time I ever went to the States, Jim, and I saw Dolphin on the menu, and I was quite upset by the prospect of what might be offered up on a plate, until I found out it's the common name local to a certain species of fish there. Got nothing to do. Yes, yeah, no, I know that the blowhole is quite an important part in communication as well. Right, I'm just going to take off a little bit of the green blue and just put in a little bit of a warmer blue as that disappears over there. Just soften those shapes and shades, and then there's a very subtle cooler color over the back here which we're going to bring in, and I need to bring that all the way down, maybe slightly greener than I got it, but I want to bring that all the way down here to the back end. And the reason I want to do that is the same reason as I was doing it over here. I want the water to show up. I want that white water to really sing out when I put it on. So I need to make this fairly dark through here and just play around with the values, because it's not all one color. I mean, we've got a nice flush of light coming in here, and we do need to make out that, you know, this is got curvature to the wave. It moves up and over as it's moving past them, so we need to make sure we do look at that. And here just there's that sort of trail of light away from the back. Now this is where I wish I had a little bit more room on the back here. Is a little bit, the whole of the drawing ended up a little bit too large for me in terms of overall look to the picture, but we've got to live with that. As I say, it is a demonstration, and as such it's going to have one or two areas that I wish I could probably have changed or might have changed. And if I got, you know, it might be that in the quiet times, not that I get that many of them right now, but in a quieter time I might well revisit this picture and see how I can improve upon not just the painting. I mean, we can always do a painting again and get better at it. The more you do, the better it becomes. And I've already seen something by looking at the photo that I'm working from and looking at and point down at this that you're seeing, is that I think that the back here should be a little bit more arched than I've given it. So I will go back in there and give this just a little bit more of an arc through there as that comes down. I will come in with the other colours later, but I just wanted to establish that before I go any further, because I might well forget and it will not work out. Alright, so I forget where I was now. In France there is sometimes dove on the menu when it's being translated into English. Pigeon, of course. Yeah, I get that too. So, you know, what other countries have on their menus, the mind boggles. Right. I digress. Okay, I'm just going to carry on with this. And that water is rushing past Junior. But it is a lot darker. A bit too much mix on there. It's a lot darker than other areas. So what I want to do now is bring in a significantly dark colour. I'll put a little bit more green, and I'm using a little tad, in fact not so much need of the deep cadmium yellow, but maybe some raw sienna, maybe a little bit of the cobalt, bit of raw sienna as my yellow, and let's give this a cooler but darker green value all the way through here, which is going to be really important to us. Let's bring that down through. You've got a little bit of more weight. I'm just going to drag that colour down a little bit and just suggest a bit more of a tummy on Junior, and take that into the area where it starts to disappear, as it were, like so. And I want to bring that all the way into here, all the way down. It does get a little cooler, maybe a little touch of ultramarine blue as the sort of wave rolls over this way towards the back of the boat. I'm just going to take that all out there to there. Right, how are we doing for time? I don't know. What's the time? 42 minutes we've been going. That's not bad. Now then, this does or will need quite a bit of a change. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to use the same idea of using the raw sienna in this mix, and I think that's a much nicer mix for the yellow into there, and in this part here may even be a little stronger with that into there. And look at that, set that up and just look at it and see how you feel about that. I think that's a much better, it could even go stronger. So let's try a different mix, different pile of phthalo blue and the that colour, the raw sienna, and see how that changes that value of green, makes it a little stronger. And I'm quite liking it. And that's good. I mean, you know, all the time you like it, it's good. And when you don't like it anymore, change it. You know, a colour is a bit like a weed. It's not a weed unless it's in the wrong place. And a colour is a great colour until it's in the wrong place. Yes, no rules, just right. Absolutely. Okay, now I'm going to look at that colour of that shadow. Now that is a very greeny green, so I'm going to use this mix of this blue, and I'm going to come in with a lot of the sienna colour, and I'm just going to look at what this shape is doing. Now I'm going to take that back a little bit, that colour there, and take it forward there and rub that out, otherwise I'm going to have a bit of a problem making it stay where I want it to. And the front end of Mum in the reflection is about there, and I'm just going to make a very, very strong statement of Mum's reflection under Junior, like so, and then take that all the way back like so, and then it starts getting messed up. But we are going to, for the purposes of this, we're going to put the majority of this as solid color, because we will eat into that color further on. Let's put a piece of that reflection under there, which I assume must be Mum's pectoral fin that we can't quite see. And I'm going to take that colour. It actually wants to even be a stronger sense of the that warm green, that lovely acidic colour. That's a lot better. So I'm going to take that in there, and there's very little to be left to be seen of clear water at that point. I'm just going to take that all the way around Junior's pectoral fin, taking it off there. I'm going to take this colour out and up to the chin again, so we've got some form of unified colour moving forward. It's a very, very strong and bold statement, but I think it works. We've got 16, Ben, is that right? That's good. Not a record, but it's not bad. Okay, I'm going to bring this colour all the way down through here, and it sort of fractures off. So I'm going to sort of make it look as though it's fracturing out, but then it comes all the way back into here, and then we've got more under here, which is Junior's reflection, I suppose. Quite dark under there. And let's just bring that and make that sort of just go into nothingness as such. Okay. Now there are one or two other statements of colour, so I'm going to bring that through and just break these up. Like the waves are just breaking up, and then we've got the white water that's going to take over. Okay, so that's pretty much that. And I'm going to put a bit of a darker value of green, maybe not that much. Let's come back to the blue just slightly, and maybe a little paler, but we're going to put that in up there and let that go away, and then a darker value up in here, and this one, just bring that down very, very softly, bring that through like that, and then I just want to make a few suggestions like this into this other colour, so they look as though they're sort of blending together. You're not quite sure where one starts, another one stops. Something like that, I think. Just leave it at that, and we can refine later on. I do need to look at this area at the top, which I feel has got a little bit lost and not got purpose, so I'm going to bring in a few more colours of the greens to augment the blue up in here, and bring that over and just let that take a bit of that white off, so it doesn't look like it's eclipsing and messing around too much with that fin. And I think she's actually damaged the top of her dorsal fin, so whether I put that part in, I don't know at this stage. We'll see. I just want to bring a bit more light. Now this is where if I come round here with light, then you're going to get that effect that I told you about. So I don't want to do that. I'm going to take this colour all the way into the fin, like so, which is what I was trying to establish with you earlier. And then I'm going to bring in just a little tap of light into the top end of it, just to start to say there and get rid of some of that other colour that I had there. Now I can go back in and re-establish the edge of her fin. I might have to after that, but you get the idea. I can start changing all those subtleties further on. And just taking that all the way off, so I continue that colour off into the area behind her. Now then, have we got a hiss tonight? That's what I wanted to ask everybody. Are we hiss free, or are we still got a hiss? Wendy, you can tell me that, because you are experiencing it more than anybody else. Right, looking at the picture, it's not looking too bad at the moment. I want to bring some of those colours of green in here, just mix it up a little bit with some of the paler colours, and maybe put a flush of blue in there. I do love the lovely blue colours you get in these Floridian waters. You know, it's just wonderful colour that you see. Lots of turquoises, lots of lovely colours. Unfortunately, I don't get enough chance to get over there anymore. I used to do all the shows through Florida and up into Charleston every year, the big wildlife shows, the invitational shows, and it was fun because I used to have almost a month in America each year, and I just loved that. Because I got to meet with old friends and all my clients, gallery shows, as well as the booth shows. So I do miss that. I really say I do miss that. Part of me still feels that I ought to consider maybe going back to one or two of them, but there's a lot of water under the bridge. Lots of things have changed in my life, and you know, the way I do things, and maybe it's not for me anymore. But I sort of every year I see the setup coming for Seaweed, which is a South Eastern Wildlife Exposition, and I sort of longingly wish I was back out there with all my old mates and having a great fun. One of the biggest events was they did this big food fest halfway through the show, and it was for top clients and the artists, and it was an awesome evening, and I remember those with affection. And you had sort of hog roasts and loads of clams and oysters and stuff. Amazing evening. Anyway, I digress, but lovely memories I've got of that area and Charleston. I loved it, and I still love it, and I will get back there again one day. I'm sure of that. I'm not sure quite when though. Going to bring in a suggestion of there, because that will give me an excuse to change that slightly there and give a reason for that. Take off a little bit, just take off the edge and punch into that, and just distorts that little bit of reflection. I'm just going to distort it there with a little bit of blue. Suggestion that there's slightly different value of light on the wave at that point. Just lighten that bit there. Just very, very gentle, nothing too much. Just tap it into there and just disturb some of the paint, and sort of cast a little bit of refinement in one or two places, and then almost that's sort of done at that point. We aren't going to worry too much about it. Something like that. There's a couple of little light marks for catching the bit of the sun above, I guess. I'm not too sure. I'll put that in. And where are we? Charmaine, I didn't know you was there keeping quiet. Hey? Where was you Sunday? Nice to see you, Charmaine. Not much of a hiss for me on the laptop. Good. Perfect reception. Fantastic. Very faint here. Okay, well, I have put my woolly thingy-majig on. I don't know what, it's got a proper name, but don't ask me what it is. But it's a woolly thing, like a furry thing. It's like something escaped from a gerbil hutch. No, sorry, forgive me. I didn't mean that statement, but you know what I mean. It just looks as though it escaped from somewhere and found its way on the end of my microphone. But hopefully that's doing the job anyway. Right, I am being a bit silly, and I've got to not lose the plot. I'm just taking some of these colours back and softening them a little bit more. And then we're going to return our attentions back to the dolphin themselves. I may come back in and change one or two other things moving forward with this, but I quite like where we're at with it right now. I do or would like to just take out a little bit more of this color in here. Just want to make that a little lighter, but not too much lighter, because it needs to describe the spray that's coming off of the animal themselves. But there is just a little change of value as that goes into that space there. There we go. I don't know if any of you have been following the thing I've been doing on Instagram, which is about Pledge for Artists, you know, the Artist Support Pledge. It's an initiative that someone set up whilst we're all in lockdown. And because artists, you know, myself included, my gallery is not open, so I can't interact with my clients. And equally, my other galleries around the country are also closed, of course. So we, and not just me, but artists all around the world, we are all stuck in this situation. So someone came up with a great idea of sort of suggesting that with a hashtag, we all start putting work that we're happy to sell for £200. Which is, you know, when you consider some of the cost of some of mine, it's, you know, it's a very cheap painting, and it is for 99% of all the artists that are taking part, because I know a lot of them, and you know, they're sort of, we're picking out work and we're selling our work a lot cheaper, but it is only a temporary price, and it's a great way of people getting involved and actually supporting art, but also getting a cheap painting into the bargain. So anyway, I've been doing this, and it took a little while to get going, but it's finally starting to pay off, and there are one or two sales creeping in, which is really nice for me. But things like this will be considered to go in there, and you know, some of the other demonstrations I've been doing of late probably will end up in there, because as much as these, you know, these would probably sell for more on an open market, it's just nice to be able to keep earning something from the work you're doing, and by offering it at a reduced price. So if this goes in, this would literally only be a £200 painting, and this is why it is a first come first served basis, and the first person that sort of ever comes into a situation with a painting on board and says I want it gets it. It's as simple as that, and that's how it's been run. But it's a great incentive. So if any of you, not necessarily my art, but if you want to go on to Artist Support Pledge as a hashtag on Instagram, then there is so much on there that you can enjoy and choose from if you would like to collect a bit of art for yourself, but not have to pay the normal prices from any of the artists involved, and that includes myself. So anyway, a little bit of a plug over with. I'm just going to come back in, change some of this value here. It got a little bit too on the warm side of the blue, and I just want to take that back a little bit and blend that out there. Take that down there. I'm just going to change the shape there as well. I may bring it back, but I might want to change that shape on her fin and leave it like that. Okay. Right, another glug time, I think. Well, I think it's looking like a pair of Dolphin at the moment. Hopefully it is. We'll see later. I'm going to put some lights into the water, so I'm going to come back in with a lot more white, but it's going to be the slightly sort of aqua colour of white, not pure white, but I just want to suggest one or two light flushes through here, just bring it up a little bit more than it was. One or two little areas there that just suggest a little undulation in the water further back. There you go. But yes, to whoever it was who was talking about I like painting water, I really do like painting water. I bring a little bit of a light source into there. I like the challenge of trying to recreate water in all its different forms. It's just completely different every second, constantly on the move. Even still water is an undulation of colour and values, and I like the nothing more than try and recreate some of that when I'm painting. Just a little bit more of a start value change there. Just soften that into there. And there's a little strong accent out the back here. We'll put that in. And we don't want to do too much here because obviously we've got that white water starting and we don't want to mess that up. Okay. Not much of a hiss. Perfect. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I think the sound is literally the picking up the heat, the fans on my computer, which is right underneath this. I don't know what else really I can do. But I will, over the next couple of weeks, I will do my utmost to play around and do some research and figure out if it can be improved. It may be something to do with the type of camera, and it may be something more than that. I really don't know. Ben, sorry mate, I don't know if I answered your query, but you asked me about my camera, and if you didn't get the answer, it's a Sony AX53. That it's the later version that came on after the AX33, but the AX53, lovely unit. I've got a couple that I use because I wanted to have cameras that didn't stop with the old half-an-hour rule, which is the old cinematographic regulation that governed all DSLR cameras with the ability to take video. It didn't apply for some strange reason to camcorders, so they escaped that rule, and because of that you could sort of carry on filming with a camcorder when after half an hour a DSLR would stop. By default it would stop, and because of that I have always had problems when filming a painting, because obviously it goes off when you're right in the middle of a painting and you're right in the flow, and you don't want to suddenly stop and turn it on and all off again just to make it all work. So that's why I changed to the Sony cameras, because of that reason alone. I'm not a great lover of camcorders, because I do like a DSLR purely for the depth of field you get when you're filming. It's a little bit more cinematographic, that one. and of course you don't get that with a camcorder. I'm just making a few little tweaks here on the shapes. Okay, we'll let that ride for a minute and we'll carry on. Now I'm going to start looking at some finer detail. Mic too close to fan or other items that cause interference. I think that's probably what it is, but I can't really do anything about it because I've got a distance of 2.5 to 3 feet between the camera on the microphone on the camera. It may be that I take, next time I stream, I'll take the Rode mic off of the camera and use the camera's internal microphone to see if that picks up a different reception. But I've got to have my laptop in front of me, because obviously you're not going to see me doing all these silly gestures to you without it, and I can't control the stream and see what you're talking about either. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm guessing that when I used the phone, we had none of these issues. It's since we've been streaming with the new camera, or the camera with the thing. So I don't know, guys and girls. I will do my best to see what I can do to find out what the causes are, or what the potential causes are. I'm making one or two sort of little subtle changes in the lights in the water before I proceed. Just in a couple of areas I wouldn't mind just tweaking before we move on. And this is where water gets so interesting, because you can just do all these soft, subtle touches in variation of tone and value, and it's just awesome. Like so. They could be a little more subtle over the back there. Maybe just take that out a little bit, make that a little softer transition as it goes away. Something like that maybe. Okay, but I really must crack on, because we are, where are we? God, we're in hour 6 in. I do apologise, people. I'm rambling away and talking about all this water and stuff, and you'll all be going to sleep soon. How am I doing so far anyway? Is it looking okay? I just want to put some violet into the side of this. I think that colour was a little bit too dark, and I just want to put some violet colour into the shape of this here. Beautiful chance to get on some very, very soft values going on in this creature. Beautiful, lovely, subtle tones, sharpening up the softness like so. Right, and bringing some of those down through the back here as well. Oh, there we go. I nearly lost my image. Okay, just going to look at some of these values in here, which, working with the colors on the calf junior, I think that they will work quite well. I'm just going to bring a little bit more warmth into that, maybe a little bit of red, a little bit of raw sienna, and just tap in some of these warm colors in her side, in her flanks as it were, coming through here, and you're going to get these beautiful transitions of light on the wet skin coming through. I'm just going to let the brush dance around in there for a minute or two, and maybe tap a little bit more light into some of it just underneath the darkest part, so there's a bit of reflected light coming on as well, because all of this, where the light's hitting here, the other side, the blind side of Junior, is going to reflect light into the side of her, so she's not going to be all that dark. She's going to have some reflected light in her skin, which I do need to represent or be mindful of. And just putting a little bit more violet warm colors into there, get some lovely subtle transitions into there like that. Okay, I must order me some more of these brushes. They are awesome. Now take that dark all the way down there and into the back there like that. And a lot of that color is going to get lost in the final analysis, because we are going to be losing a lot of the later body color to the white water, so not to worry too much about it, but just make sure that you don't go too far off the path as it were in terms of color values. And I think I've got Junior's tail dorsal fin a little bit on the big side. I'm just going to make it a little slender, little taper down here, maybe just take it out a little bit, and that gives me a bit more room for the white water to play around with him. And there. Now I'm going to do the same with colours on him, just give him this beautiful warm colour violet through here, and I think that really works. Well, it does for me right this minute. I might change my mind on that further along, but right now I quite like what that's doing. And I'm just going to let that pass out through to the warmer values that run down into the water at this point. Something like that. And take that colour all the way up through to the top. And let that be a soft transition away into that light. Something like that. It actually wants to be a little bit warmer. And put a little bit more red into that mix. Okay, and just look at that as that touches those light areas and gets a little bit warmer at this point. But using an almost dry brush of colour, letting that just fuse the two areas of light and dark together. And I do have to be mindful that there is a direct, where that thing comes into the body, then there is this direct shadow coming down the side of the body like so. Don't want to forget that. Which also means to say that I've got to look at the light aspects at that point. So I'm going to look at that right now and sort of put in maybe a bit of magenta to that colour. See where it needs to go. Tap a yellow. Keep playing around with it until you're almost on it. And then just look at that. No, see, that's not quite where I want it to be. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to remix it. And put a little bit of warmth into there. A little bit of yellow. And just see where that is. Now I can't have it as light as I want. And I'll tell you for why. Because this has got to have some real wet looking highlights into this. So I'm going to come in with this value here, which is probably lighter than I really should go with it, if I'm honest with you. I'm just going to come in with a subtle mid-tone through here and try and blend those two areas one more time, but making the whole thing, it's still light compared to that, and that is still light, but you can see that I've made it darker than that, and that will assist me no end further on. I'm just going to bring that up a little further. I need to give him a little bit more of a shape just here. He's a little bit out. Then I'm going to come in with that blue colour, but that's the wrong blue. Let's come in with some lovely ultramarine blue, more white into that. Got that lovely coolness about it. And let's just bring that into the top of the head here and down the body like so. And you get that lovely, cool, wonderful looking wet edge, shiny edge. And I'm really keeping the colours distinctly sharp as we come around the shapes of this animal. Being very careful, very delicate to be very detailed. Bring that light in around the blowhole. I'm going to put some darks back in there, but at the moment it's quite a subtle change. I'm just trying to blend the two areas together. This is of course the beauty of using oil paint over acrylics. You can keep these blends going for so long, and they do make the difference. They really do. A nice light colour, which then tells me that the colour coming out the back of the blowhole is slightly darker, like so. There's a little groove in the anatomy at that point, and I want to come in with quite a dark. I just want to tap in the shape of this blowhole. I forget it, like so. To shape that up a little better than that. It's not quite right on this side. Put that in like so. And then we're going to put the highlight in that a little further along, but not yet. We'll use the rigger for that. Alright, so now we've got him pretty much sorted out in this area. And we're going to look at Mama in a minute. Thanks, Sue. Okay, Wendy. Yeah, I will try and do my best to get it sorted out. Lovely, I will try and do that. It's one of those that I'm not an engineer, so it's a bit of a problem to sort, but we will try and do our best to get it there. And just putting on a darker value onto Mum's back here, like so, and just fuse that off, take some excess paint away, and just fuse the two areas together as I did down here. So it's a very soft, subtle transition. She too has got that little bit of light that comes down from her dorsal fin, but of course then that comes into the body just ever so slightly, because obviously the body is three-dimensional, so it goes around the other side of the dorsal fin as well as this side of it, so it's not on the very top edge of the body. You've got a little bit like there that sneaks on past the edge of the dorsal fin, and that tells us that it's three-dimensional. Okay, now then, I need another glug. I'm getting through this water quickly. Okay, I've got more blue paint on me than I got on this picture. Alright, so let's look in at some of these lovely reflections. I do need to put in a bit of warmth, bit of red, bit of pink colour into the mouth, lower jaw on Mum, certainly at this stage. Let that come round softly, and that will form the shape of the mouth ever so slightly like that, and it will then come down and go away. And a very similar thing with Junior, a little bit of soft pink colour forming the shape as it then comes up in that characteristic looking smile that they have, and that will end just before the eye, and then we'll go down just before that cheekbone, which I tried to suggest earlier. Alright, and there's a bit more aqua blue. I love this blue, can't get enough of this blue, but I'm going to put some of that into Mum's face, just about there. Not too strong, it's a little bit over the top. Let's just come back in and change some of that. I'm just looking at the jaw. I think she needs slightly a bit more shape here, and this is where I'm doing all the refining of the painting. And sometimes this can take forever, it seems. I put a little bit of light over here, the brow into the top of the head. That will be subtly changed. There is a little groove down the front end of the head there, which goes in front of the air hole, or the blowhole, and this brings over the eye socket. And we'll come back in with some shade and darker blues, a bit darker than I'm showing. Come on, there you go. It's a bit more rounded than I had it. Really struggling to see what's going on at this point. And there is the area for the eye socket to go down and around through there. Okay, I need one blast of dark, which will be her eye. Maybe a little darker, maybe a bit warmer too. So I'm going to put a little bit of brown and red together, just to take that away from the blue and give that a little dark accent there. Now if that's not quite right, we can play around with it. Blowhole is considerably lighter in terms of value compared to Junior, but nevertheless it's going to be very prominent. So I'm going to come in with some darks first off. Being careful, and that just goes off like so. It might be that I need to bring that a little darker still, and I've got it. Okay, I'm listening to that fan, and I think that the fan is the issue than anything else. So if anybody else who's not actually saying much in the chat wouldn't mind saying whether or not they can hear this with or without a hiss, if you don't mind coming into the chat and let me know, that will be fantastic. Don't worry if you'd rather not, it's not essential, but it would just help to have as many people telling me what they're hearing in terms of the value of the audio on this. I'm just going to put a little shadow side into that and there, as that will go off like so. That pink was made up with ultramarine. I don't think so. Cadmium red, a little tap of lemon yellow, just the merest hint, and a lot of white, and that gave me that pink color. Alright, now let's come in with that, more of that pink as we're on it, and let's just look at some playing around with some of these nice watery, wettish reflections in the side of her. Right, where are we? Look, it does sound exactly like a computer fan. Yeah, I really think that's what it is. So on that score I will see what I can do, but I just don't know how to change it off the top of my head. I've got to have both running, and I don't know. We shall see. Right, I'm going to put a little bit of warm colour in here, which takes that up a little bit away from the eye area, and over the top of it, coming into that part there, around the top of the skull area. And then I'm going to come back in with these other areas of light that sort of dance their way down the side of the body, down the flanks, and they're very, very sharp here, but then they sort of get a bit lost and mixed up at the top here. There's sort of like this darkish value sort of comes and invades the area of these lights. So let's just play around with that idea for a minute. Just suggesting that there's some nice broken darks that will run through there. And if you're not quite right with it, you can go back in, it's not a problem, change some of those values out, and I think we need a bit more violet into there. You can see I move the brush around to suit the angle of which I'm doing, whether I want to point or whether I want the flat side or whatever it is I'm trying to do. And a finger brush, which is really essential sometimes, the finger brush. Very useful device. God gave me a hand first, and they don't rush, they don't wear out like brushes do, so a finger brush is most useful. Right, and I'm going to make this a little sharper against the light of this, so let's just bring that a little bit tighter there. I almost want to pick up a rigger, I've got to be honest with you. I'm going to come in, it wants to be a little bluer too, a little bit more of this aqua colour, and that will work beautifully against the reds that it's next to. And like that. Just watching your values, they don't, you know, it looks like it's a very light part, and it really is, but it's not as light as other areas. and you get too much light going on as a highlight, you destroy the chance of doing a decent highlight later on. And so just be aware of that. Okay. Just going to look at Junior and do the very same sorts of things in the side of him, but he's a little pinker down in here, so I'm going to use that pink value and replace that blue a little bit with some pinks over his eye, which has got that blue around it. We will put that in and then let that rise up over here, and just literally almost tapping away to nothing. It works. It can. Yeah. Well, bear with me, guys. I will do my utmost to try and change what the performance that you're listening to, so that you enjoy the process of watching these. I would hate to start losing people from the viewership, as it were, because of the sound quality. I will do my best to change that over time. Just bear with me if you can till I can get that sorted out. I'm just going to come in here with a darker value under his tummy, like so. Maybe a little bit too green, if I'm honest with you, so I'm going to change that and put some red into the blue and a little bit of white to it, a little bit less strength than that. Okay, now that doesn't matter that I've got that blur through there, because I've got to put some white water in there. I do want to come in with Litland's pectoral fin, so let's just knock that in. Like so, it's got a, comes up and then goes across to a little shape there. Alright, let's leave that. Now I've just noticed right underneath his back of his throat there's a little bit of mum's fin there. I'm going to suggest it. Can always take it out again if it doesn't really work. Right, so basically that's all done. When I say that's all done, now we've got to start looking at all the other values of color and light going in, which is of course the water. Just going to bring that down there, subtly changing as it goes down, but we've got a lot of different other values to come into it yet. Just want to put some dark warmy colors into the back there. Just change that down a little bit. Just a slight adjustment on the value of that color there on the back there. So we've got nice wetness on them, and I've got to put highlights in, but let's start looking at the water. Okay. Well, I think different machines are picking up different levels of this hissing. So I don't know. We can only do what we can do, and yeah, it's annoying. Right, I'm just going to clean some of this palette off, but I'm going to drop the hissing bit now because I can't actually do anything about it, and it's annoying that I can't improve it for you right now, but we will look at it. Okay, so we've got pretty much everything in place. What we've got to do now is finish off all this white water and all our lovely highlights. And I'm using white essentially, and I'm going to make it flow with some impasto liquid. Tap the merest tap, actually a little bit of lemon yellow and a little tap off of the medium or darker cadmium yellow, and let's just put in some of our, no, in fact I'm going to leave that pile there and use the same brush, but I'm just going to pick up a little bit of cobalt blue and mix myself a subtle paler blue, not a violet, it's too much, just a bit of blue, and I want to come in here with like a shadow color of water first and foremost. So let's just bring that in, and maybe a bit more of the blue, make it a little bit more obvious, and put that color in. It's going to pick up other colors around it, don't worry unnecessarily. This is just to give you a lovely subtle value of the, oh, straight into the side of his fin, which doesn't help. But yes, just a lovely subtle value of water that's pouring off, and dark enough value that we can get in there and put our lights to it, and it actually then will show up most beautifully against everything else when we put the lightest lights into it. And bring some of that down the side of the back of her body as it comes into the water, like so, and up the side of the back there. And I'm going to look at other places now. All the water under his tummy, with the exception of the right up the top there, we're going to put into this soft lovely blue color, and it's just going to be running down the side. We will come back in with a rigger very soon. I just want to get in some of these shadowy colors first and foremost before we start laying in the real light colors. I'm just going to run one or two of them up like so, and you're sort of dragging that water up with him as he's gone, and she's doing the same, of course. So some of these colors will be a little bit over splashy, dragged down the side of her body, coming through there. I'm gonna hit, I know I'm gonna hit his tail, his dorsal fin again, and it just peels off in one or two places like so. Lots of lovely shadow in here, and actually I'm going to use, there's quite an obvious and a good excuse for me to use some more phthalo blue in here, in this sort of just picking up a little bit of light in the blue, but it's just got a lovely aqua color to it, just a little bit. It's very fine dots and sprays up the side of the animal like so, and that blue complements the lovely light colors that we will be putting on top of him or her, or let's just call Junior like so. Alright, so I think that's probably it as regards that color for the moment, and now I will have two brushes in hand. I'm going to be using no, the hairdryer's on Friday, debut on Friday. I'm going to be using a rigger, and I'm going to carry on using this dagger brush too, and I'm going to do the wider areas primarily with the dagger, and just make sure you've got plenty of this all nicely mixed up, ready to go, because it's going to contaminate fairly quickly. I just want to drag in some real heavy areas just to start with, like so, and just put them in and just forget about them as such, like that. Now every time I touch the rest of this animal with this white, it's just going to want to pick up all the greens, all the other colors, and cause me an absolute nightmare, and it will contaminate your color mix almost straight away. But don't worry, try and go beyond that and we'll just see where that all takes us. Okay, I'm going to leave that for the minute. I'm going to leave the dagger on the side and just start working with the other brush now. Right, there we go. Let's start making that move. I've got very dirty zest, unfortunately, so I wanted to move it a bit more, but not put all that flipping horrible zestic colour that's in there, gooky, into the mix. Right, I'm going to run this down, and I'm just going to look. I'm just going to reshape her back a little bit there, and just let it run round there and down the back of the fin, and then it just trails off where she's just blasted out of the water, and it's just all over the place. It's just tapping away, little strings of colour and little taps of dots of colour, and just got to look at it. And you're not going to get it exact. Don't even try to get it exact. All you're trying to do is just emulate the suggestion of the water and the spray and what's happening, like so. Now you could be very loose over this. I'm giving it a little bit of care. And let that just go off out the picture if you want to, like so, because it does extend a long way behind her. And this too has so many splash marks on it. And this is where this painting really starts to come to life. I've got to say, I really am enjoying this, but we are kicking on time. And I think that, if all honesty, this either has to go beyond 2 hours if anyone's up for it, or indeed we'll have to do a part 2 on it if people are getting fed up with it. But I'm not going to rush it for anything, and because it's got the makings of a really nice piece, and I don't want that wrecked. 1 or 2 taps into here, and beyond. A little trail off there. Well, yeah, if the general idea is to keep going, I'm happy to keep going. I'm enjoying myself. So it's up to everybody overall. There'll be a lot of strong lights down Junior's back too. Big strong statements of colour and light and shade going on. If I do quite quiet, it's because I really am concentrating. I don't mean to be rude by being silent, but hopefully you'll understand that. Yeah, it's just that punch. It's like a big highlight statement, John, and as such, you know, you have to wait to write the minute and do it, and just get it down there and just make that statement stick out and work for you. I suppose I can carry this on anyway, and if anybody can't stay, they can always watch go back in on the rerun, as it were. Be like Dave soon, won't it? A rerun of a rerun of a rerun. You can watch me on Dave. Right, lots of splashing going on into this area too. Now this can all be built up as much as you want to, because this just goes off in a big old trail, and this is again why I really should have done a bit more about having a bit more room behind her, especially behind her, but I think we can just about get away with it. It just would have been nicer to have a bit more behind. Yeah, good. Well, we're carrying on. A bit more fluid into this, though. I'm going to have to run the risk of damaging the brilliance of the pigment by adding that little bit of goopy green coming out of my zested pot. And I did actually clean it, but I've been doing quite a bit of oil painting for filming during the day for YouTube and Patreon, so it's, you know, a lot of stuff being filmed and done, and so it's just contaminating my pot very, very quickly. And unfortunately, like a lot of people, it's hard to get supplies right now. My gallery normally supplies it, but I have actually sold out of zested, so I can't get any more myself, so I have to make what I've got work for me. Just coming back down to Junior, and I wanted to show you this as well. That little highlight, little bit of pink, little bit of light, but then just put these little bits of light on Junior's back, and you can see how they actually just stand out now, because I took the light value on his back but made it a little darker so that I could put this highlight in, especially here, just pop it out a little bit brighter than the rest, and you suddenly get that little bit of light source there. And then you can just play around, see how that makes that blue that was quite bright just now, it makes that blue now a little bit less bright. And just put one or two taps of light where the light's catching a few splashes, like so. Let's just look at a bit more in here, and let's just get this shape around here, because we haven't quite got the shape of that fin. So let's just bring that in and play around with the lights off the back of it. So it's a nice curved shape. In fact, I think the front of it should be actually a little longer. It's a little bit too stumpy in this direction. So I'm going to bring that out and make that go that way just a little further, then bring that shape down into the dark. There you go. I think that's just caught it. Come back into here, carry on playing around with some of these colours, drawing these shapes, the lights and the darks, and then bring up some of this in here and in here. And look at this lovely little bit of light just catching there, that's falling away from him or her. Keep saying him, it will be a her. And a little bit of water that's coming across the back like that. That starts breaking up the shape of him or her. I'm gonna have to. I'm just gonna stick with Junior. So much easier. Okay. And there is that light that comes quite a way this way. I'm going to bring that all the way through in a very strong mark, like that. And that will give way to some of our foam patterns, that the boat has created. So I'm going to bring that up a little higher and then tap some of that away. And then we've got a bit of water underneath the tummy, like so. And down on the fin. And there's a few splashes around here. Love, don't stop. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. Jacksons have got zest at Paul. They are taking about a week to deliver. Okay, that's good. I might just get some on order. I'm going to have a word with Jackie tomorrow. She's the people who supplies everybody. She supplies me and she supplies Jacksons and all the other thing. Very astute lady and a very lovely lady. And I shall bring her tomorrow and see if she's in and if she is supplying. If not, I will do as you say, or suggest Wendy and go to Jackson's and let's see what they can sort out for me. Right, and just bringing that into there. Obviously we need it to lift off the animal so it's out of the water at this point. So we're going to make sure that we see that there are splashes hitting the water here, and that needs to be a little bit lighter there. So I'm just going to come in with a little brush and just lighten up the value of the green right there. I don't want to do too much because I've got too much repair work to do. I just want to change what you see in terms of that fin at that point. Right, so I think that's just, I say just, I'm just going to bring that around there now. Okay, I can still blend it, it's not a problem. I just don't want it to look like I told you earlier about that little shape that goes around everything. So that's enough of that. And now I can go back in and put that away, don't put that. And just put some splish splash in through here. Now it looks like he's out of the water. There was enough definition between the fin and the water below it. And there wasn't quite enough before. I'm going to leave that trailing off of there. Maybe not as obvious. There's water splash there where it's all hitting. And there are some foam patterns around here, so I'm just going to put one or two of those in. Now foam patterns, if you look at them, they don't have sharp edges like that. They're not squares, they're not triangles. If they are, they're very soft marks, very soft little colour taps. Right, so they don't end up having sharp corners. And I just realized what I've done. I put that foam pattern right in the middle of his thing, and those ones are actually quite blue because they are being shadowed by Junior. So I'm going to put one or two other bright ones in, and then we've got lots of foam trails over here, which I'm going to actually go back in, and I'm going to use the dagger for, because the only thing is the dagger's getting a little bit tired now. Got to be said, in fairness to it, it's worked very, very hard on a number of paintings. You can see how wrecked it's getting, and hence my comment that I have got to put in an order with Rosemary. So I don't want to deposit too many loose hairs into the greens when I'm actually laying in these foam patterns. So I'm just going to put them in, and I may have to go back in and tidy some up like that. It gets a bit scratchy. Lots of foam down the bottom here. I'm going to add a little bit more yellow, just so that these are almost certain. I'm going to have to change that brush. It's not going to give me what I want. So I'm going to come in with a very new long filbert brush. Not the first choice, but it will give me the rounded edges, but it will just deposit paint in the places I want it to be. Just going to put in a little bit of Candula Deep to that white. Go back in with some more white. I'm just going to try and deposit nice little rounded shapes and bubbles in the water. Don't make them regular, and don't make them all the same size, and certainly you don't need to make them all in the same direction. All sorts of shapes and sizes of bubbles trailing out from the motors of the boat. And lots of lovely intricate shapes as they break away from each other. They start off life all one big lump of foam, and then as they move away and get disturbed, of course, they change and break up into much smaller little single shapes, and some are still joined and some lose that ability and cohesion and start breaking and dissipating. Also, you can use them like some of these, if you look at them, they sort of carry on the shape, and you can create the flow and eddy of the waves by suggesting the shape of these flows. I'm going to tidy that and bring that all the way down through here. Now you see how that just picks up all that paint underneath. It's not a big deal. Some people might be scared off by that and wait until the layer underneath is dry before they start attempting to do this, but really and truly you're not going to get it brilliant white, and it can look quite false if you did. So just go with it. As long as you don't keep working it, just give it one tap and leave it alone, says he, putting the brush back over on it again. But you get the idea. And it's a case of just building up these beautiful little shapes. I will change some of them for smaller ones, small little taps of colour, which I will use the thing for, the rigger for, but at the moment I'm quite happy that these are big enough and need a bigger brush to do the job. I haven't even looked at the chat for a while. Oh, it's not changed. Again, so engrossed in this, I'm forgetting to look at the chat. We're still under the 2 hours, people. That's quite amazing. I'm going to bring that down and join those two bits together, and I want to make a little island. So I'm going to bring that through there like that, bring that through there like that, and then soften that edge, because the little hole, as it will be, doesn't have a sharp edge either, really. Let's just bring that down through there. Quite a bit under here omitted so far. I'm just going to put a few bits in. You can see that little pile. I don't know if you can see that on there, but this, no, you can't. It's just a little bit out of. But if you can see that, it's got quite a bit of green gone into it now. So it might be a case of making sure that let's change that. Let's get rid of that remix because we can get that color back, but we can't keep using the same value because it is just getting more and more corrupted. So I'm going to take some more white. Take a lump of white, big lump of white, and a little bit of the yellow. That, I'm afraid, is just way too much yellow. So let's come in with a heaps more white, but in one small area. And let's just put in some nice strong marks here. And let's go back to the rigger to do that. More fluid, more water as it were, in an oil sense. And let's just come back in with some of these lovely yellowish marks now and pump up what we can see in certainly in some of these lights like that. This is just taking our yellow into our white and just giving that white that extra push of excitement and sun radiating through the flecks, and you can see that they, even under here where you got that lighter blue, that they are suddenly overpowering that and they're becoming very, very strong. And I'm going to put one or two areas in here just to give a lead edge of light to some of these foam patterns that I put in just now. Take one or two smaller areas off. One or two of them join up in very small little bits and pieces like so, and so you create a lovely pattern. And this one will go all the way up through here. Stiffening up on me a little bit. Let's make it a bit more fluid. Maybe a bit more light through there and down there. Does take a bit of time. See how that yellow in that white actually just pushes out? What the heck is that? Just makes that sort of big and bold brassy light statement. Look at that. Just really makes it sing. I thought, you see how that looked white just now, but now you put this one on and it just gives the whole thing to a new level. Okay, but it too will start corrupting on you, there's no doubt about that. It will happen. I'm using some of these shapes as lead-in lines too. By dragging them this way and that way, I give you the situation that I'm giving you distance between here and here by giving you lead-in lines that will just direct your passage through the painting. It doesn't matter that my foam patterns are not the same as the photograph. They're merely foam patterns and they're suggesting what they are. How are we doing? 18 watching. We might get to 20. We just might. I'm going to bring one or two of these brighter marks down through here now. Now I'm going to leave one or two of these with little dark patches in the middle. They represent the little bubbles or something that you can see in some of these. And I don't want to go back in with a dark shape. I'm just going to sort of create little shapes within shapes. And there's quite a bit up through here. But these, I'm going to make these cooler. I'm going to make these somewhat greenier, but lighter than the green they're on, so they will look as though they are in the shade of youngster here. Like so. I'm going to bring them out this way. It gives an actual, if you bring in these out like a radiated out like so, you start to suggest a little bit of movement, a little bit of drama in the way that they are going in. They may not actually exist in that form, but it's sort of almost like everything's emanating, so it's all racing away or racing to. And these things are moving, and we are moving. The boat is moving at pace, and obviously to create the waves, and so everything, we've got this degree of drama. I still don't know what they are. I'm going to put that in. A bit of light under there, suggesting there's a little bit of light emanating from there. One or two taps in the shade of water from under Mum and off of her fin. In that area, like so, and some in shadow under off of his fin. Bouncing off the water surface. All about attention to detail as much as you can muster. Okay. Going back to the brighter colours. Thank you, Luke. I'm enjoying painting the splashes, I've got to say. A lot of fun. I enjoy doing all this sort of stuff there. Nothing better than sort of creating effects with these water. And one or two areas here going to pick up back up on her, make some of them a little bit brighter than they were. I'm using a different value of white on here. So it's going to increase the intensity of some of the lights from where we first had them. And it was Turner who taught us that adding that touch of white into our whites excite the brain sufficiently that it actually makes the white look a lot brighter because of the little touch of yellow that's in it. even across some of these whites here, I can tap that other white and you can just make them out as a brighter white. Okay. Some of these splashes are coming out sideways, a bit like a tree coming this way, so they extend beyond that little trail and they just push on further and they're splashing and hitting the water a lot closer. Now if you were sort of even still water, you could almost sometimes see a little bit of reflection of the splash working back the other way. I'm not going to try and do that in this. It's just too much. A little bit of light coming down this one and splashing up. Look at that little pop of white there, bang, right on the edge. Okay, everything's just about banging away beautifully. Look at that. Right, now we have got to put some little bits of light on here on the top of this fin as it goes away, like so, catching the light, and on top of Mama. So I want to put that aqua blue in. I'm going to use that there, but I'm going to actually tap a little bit of phthalo blue right into that colour, making it a greenish colour, but just a little off onto the whitish colour. I'm going to be very careful, and I'm going to look for my mole stick very quickly. It says, where the heck did he put it? There's so much in here now I can hardly move. Bear with me. I'm just going to look for the thing I need. There it is. I was very efficient to put it down the side of it, but I'm just going to be a little careful. I just want to not put it all in that paint and just run this beautiful, very subtle light blue around the edge of the mother. I'm barely breathing. Okay, I think we've got away with that. And now I'm going to go in and put in the highlight on this blowhole. And the same on Juniors. Just got a little couple of really little hits of light if I can get them in. Okay. Now a little bit of light on the side of Junior's face, on his upper jaw, and a little bit of blue light around there, just a little bit. That's a bit too much. We'll come back in there and repair that in a minute. It's not a big deal. There's a little change there around the edge of the two jaws, and the same on the mother. Now I'm not too sure about her jaw. I think we've got it about right. I'm going to make it a little bluer. And the same for him. And on that bit there, which I did get a little bit too heavy. So I'm going to come in, just clean the brush quickly on that, just pick up a little bit of dark, head back into there and just change that a little bit, and in there. Okay, now I need to just check this because I think this to me looks a little bit off. I need to just look at it. I'm going to come in, I'm going to put a bit of dark, a bit of blue, a bit of red. So it's quite dark in there anyway, which I haven't allowed for. We can put that in there. And okay, that's fair enough, I think. Just going to come around, suggest a little bit of light. No, I didn't want to do that. It's when you just start overdoing things and you've got to do a bigger repair job than you shouldn't have started. Okay. Right. I'm getting some messages, Wendy, from Judy, but I can't read them, so I don't know quite what she's saying. Luke, we got 20. Good Lord. Jamie. Hi, Jamie. Nice of you to join us. And Ben, I'm back. Looking to purple. I'm not sure about the rear Dolphin nose reflection. Which one? This bit? You talking about that? Or are you talking about something that I'm not sure of? Can't quite see. That, I think, is possibly a little bit too big. We'll have a look at it, Ben. Just lighten the green anyway. I think I can do that. If that's the bit you're on about. And then come in the other side and shorten it off a little bit. Is that what you meant, sir? You could be right. Sometimes you just can't see for looking. Maybe a little lighter too in here. A little bit of green going into this. Okay, that'll do. I think that's better. Hi Jamie. Hope you're enjoying it and glad you could join us. Where are you from? That's not a rude question. Are you local or from further afield? We have people from all over watching. Right. Just popping one or two more of these little shapes in here. And we're getting very, very close now. Just looking at areas that I feel that need a little bit more work. And there's a few specks of water that are sort of all over the place really, between Mum and Junior, and some of them are quite that blue colour. Do love it. I'm just going to pack one or two in. Lots of very fine ones. My brush will not let me get that fine. It's almost like a spray haze. Take that right up into that lovely shape there. Letting this colour dance all over the place. I don't want to overdo it. North Wales, and painting is superb. Thank you very much, Jamie. It's jolly nice of you to say. Appreciate it. I'm really sort of I's and T's now. What I have done, and I haven't put it in yet, and that I haven't put Junior's eye in. So I'm going to put that in. Oh, there's a hair on the end there. Come on, get out of it. Put Junior's eye in there. Like so. And then that lovely tweaker blue that I said I saw, which is around there, giving that characteristic look to that. It's a little bit strong. Let's take some of that out. A little bit annoying little mark there I didn't want. Let's get rid of that. This is when a rigger can go against you. Just looking at trying to get the subtle blue colours that I can see, and I do feel that I'm going to change the brush to a smaller, a little more controllable brush, possibly. This one's pretty ripped as well. It's got that lovely little flush of light there. His young cherub little face. Bring that over into there. A subtle little change to the blue. And then if I feel I need, let's just give that dark eye a little shape there. But then we've got to come over that because it's not quite right yet, because we've got the sweep in from here, which needs to be put in. Too bright. That's the idea, that's the shape that I want. Now I'm sure there are other things I can do to this moving forward with a lot more time, but I think for a demonstration I think we're okay. I've enjoyed the painting, I've enjoyed making it for you. I'm going to just put a bit more light in through there. I just enjoyed the whole process. It's been a lot of fun, and Thank you very much, Jeremy. That's very kind of you. Good, Ben. I'm glad I got that one sorted out. Yeah, I mean, you can sometimes, you look at it all the time, you just don't see it. Sometimes people have got to turn around and say to you that that's not right, this is not right, you just need to change something. And, you know, normally in a painting process you can get right away from, let me turn this camera here. You can almost sort of, how shall I say, you lose track of things because you just can't get away from the image in the normal way of things. So because I'm filming in it and I'm on top of it, and I've been on top of it for the 2 hours or so that we've been playing. How long have we been going? 2 hours 21. This has got to be the longest stream yet, people. I do apologize for that. I don't know if we're all still with it. I hope you are. It'd be great to know that people have stuck listening to me all this time. I'm sure, be grateful. I'm sure, I expect you'll all be grateful when I do finish this and crack on with your lives. But I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the process of this one. And if you like the wildlife, as I know many of you do, I'll do more of them. I don't want to stop doing my landscapes either, but I do love doing the wildlife. It's what I was used to doing. As I say, it's been years since I've been to Charleston and Florida. I will get back out to some of these places before I don't or can't make the trip anymore, which I hope is a long way to come yet. But yeah, it's all good. Any questions before I wind this up, peeps? I will keep the chat open for a few more minutes after I finish this anyway. But if anyone's got anything they want to ask, get it out of your chest now. Still here. Good. Thanks, Jeff. Mark, you're still there. One of my favourites so far. Thank you very much. Have enjoyed. Well done, Derek. I appreciate that. It's not been a small one, has it? But yeah, I'm very grateful that you've hung around, all of you. And it appears that commiserations go out to Judy, who seems to have had issues with her tech tonight and couldn't get online to join us, but hopefully that will be sorted out. And as I say, I will do my utmost to sort out the sound issues, although I will openly admit right now I do not know how to make them better, but we will look into it, and I will do some research online to see what I can find out on that regard. Okay, right, well, with that done to that point, I think we're pretty much sorted out. I'm quite happy with most of it. There's always something I'm sure that you can do. There's a little bit of light that I've missed on the side of Mama's mouth, a little bit of extra light in there, and I'm sure there might well be some other things I see in the cool light of day. But I think it's time for me to maybe put my signature somewhere down here out of the way. He says, trying hard. There we go, that one's signed off and done. Just seen something I do want to do. There's always something. Making that a little warmer. Just want to give his Let's go a little bit more of a shape here, a little stronger throat colour. A little bit more of a blueness down here. And there's a little lighter shade round there. And just in case I've messed any of these bits up, I'm just going to do a few splashes there. There we go, guys. Did I say, is Luke gone? Luke, but I have to go now. I've enjoyed. Luke, nice to have you on board. Thank you so much, mate. Well, you didn't miss much. It was just the final few strokes, but I think that I've had a lot of fun with this tonight, and it's been pretty tired, gotta say, pretty whacked out, to be honest with you. I've already done one painting today, earlier on, and so I was going to do two actually, but my wife said no, you're going to burn yourself out for tonight if you do that, so I didn't, and I just stayed with getting this ready for tonight. But I've really enjoyed the process. I can see a couple of little errors that not big, but you know, I got a little bit too slender on the head, I think, and this is just a bit too much of a bulbous shape here. You know, I could go back into that, but I'm going to leave it. It's demonstrated to you how to paint the water, how to paint white water foam patterns, the wet flesh on the dolphin itself, so hopefully it's given you all those bits of information. And I think if there's a slight little error on the shape there, in fact it's annoying me now, so I'm going to spend another couple of seconds. Sorry guys, talk amongst yourselves just a little bit longer. I do just want to change that shape there on there. It was just annoying me not to have that, and I think that's just sorted out the shape of that head a little bit more, so there you go. It didn't take much, but yeah, cheers Jim, thanks for that statement, that's really sweet of you. Thank you very, very much. Jeff, thank you very much. I don't make it look easy, I tell you something now, it's not easy. I understand that it's not easy for anybody, and myself included. You know, when you sit here doing a stream like this, it's almost you're setting yourself up for a big fall, because these things can go wrong, and in the back of my head always is, you know, just trying to keep it on track and make sure that we've got it where it ends up and needs to be at the final position. But I'm happy with this painting, and I think it's going to do. I'm going to put it out there at some point. I don't know how much for, but we'll put it out there and see if any takers are on it. But I love it. I think it's good. I've enjoyed the experience. Yeah, it's been cool. Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate that, and that's fantastic. Well, thank you very, very much for that statement about the photo. I like transport. Thank you very much. Yeah. Yes, I will be. Well, Sylvia, if you're still there listening, we actually do 2 a week. I do one on a Monday evening, and I also do a watercolor one on a Friday evening. So if you're free for Friday, you can join me for once a week, twice a week, whatever you want to do. And all of you, don't forget that if you are watching this and you want more content, I have a Patreon page whereby you can get so much more content and one-to-one contact with me, There are several tiers that might interest you, so it's always worth taking a look at that and seeing if there's something there that really interests you. I don't know if, are you still there, Charmaine? Are you still watching? Thank you very much, Jamie. I appreciate that comment too. I do enjoy teaching. I do enjoy passing on what skills I've got to other people, and hopefully people get enough to enjoy and move their own artistic endeavors forward. This is why I run the Patreon, and it's also why I am very happy to chat about what it might be. Message me if you can. Yes, can I possibly do that tomorrow, Ben? I've got to say I'm pretty blue now. If we could pick this up maybe together tomorrow, maybe do a little video chat or something like that, if you're up for that, that would help me out a great deal. And I've just put paint all over my lovely computer. That doesn't help it at all. But yes, that would be marvellous if we could pick that up tomorrow. Judy! Welcome! We're just packing up. That's amazing. Well, I'm sorry you missed it. But if you've got the odd 2.5 hours later in tomorrow or something, then sit back and watch it, because it was a lovely little painting. I've enjoyed it. Have I ever painted Shetland Isles? Wildlife landscapes aplenty, placed close to my heart. No, I haven't actually ever gotten up there, Jeff. I really haven't. I did have a chance to go to one of the islands to paint some red deer one time. Unfortunately, I couldn't get up there as it happened, so it never did happen. Bexhill, is there a good way of contacting me outside of the chat? I suggest that may be of interest for you. Interested child best at James. Yes, James, you've got there are a couple of ways. Obviously, I've got Instagram, which is literally under the hashtag PaulAppsArtist, all one word. You've got my email, which is paulappsfineart@icloud.com. Which is my contact, and if you forget any of that, most of that is on my website at paulappsfineart.com. You can catch me on Facebook, Paul Apps Artist. Just Google Paul Apps, you'll get me somewhere. There's plenty of ways to get a hold of me, and it'd be a pleasure to talk. Sorry, Judy. Thank you very much. I did enjoy this one, Judy. I've got to say, it was I wasn't sure about it because I didn't know if I could pull one dolphin off, much less two. I've only ever painted the head of one, and that was about 20 years ago now. You know, it's these things about painting wildlife. I only paint wildlife that I've seen and that I know fairly well, as it were. And to be quite honest, you know, I sort of haven't had too much with dolphins in the past, but yeah, I've got these few pictures, and I won't steal other people's pictures. I've got to take my own, and that was good. But yeah, yes, as I say, there's chat. Ben, I'm just yes. Just reading some of these comments through. Yes, Wendy, I've had some wonderful comments from people tonight. It's fantastic. I've really enjoyed this painting, I've got to say. I mean, oil is my first medium. Most of you know that. And I just love working oil. And it's so much fun. But yeah, it's cool. Had some lovely time. Yes, please, James, do so. That'll be fantastic. So anyway, guys, I am going to head to the fridge and grab myself a tinny, which is long overdue tonight, because I've enjoyed chatting to you guys and painting. And I hope all of you, and a whole heap more, look forward to joining me on Friday night at 7 o'clock when we'll be doing a watercolour. Thank you very much for coming in there at the last second with a lovely comment. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, join me on Friday at 7 o'clock when we'll be doing a watercolor. Not sure what it's going to be. Possibly a landscape this week. I did a bird for you last week, so I'm going to do probably a landscape, something like that this week. Not quite sure what yet, but it'll be a bit of fun, I hope. I'm sure it will be. And don't forget the Patreon. Check it out. Paul Apps under Patreon. If you want some artistic help, if you want to see more content, narrated, full-length videos, and a way of streaming, conference calling with me each month, so you get a semi one-to-one basis, bit of teaching, then go onto the $25 a month tier. I'm sorry, it's in dollars, it's American, but it's $25, and that gets you one-to-one conferencing with me twice a month, and a whole heap more on the side of that. Derek, thank you very much. See you Friday, mate. Bye, Jamie. Hopefully you can join us again. And anybody else who's sitting on the side listening to this, watching this, and hasn't let themselves be known, fair go. But hope you can all join me on Friday. And with that in mind, I am now going to go to the fridge. I'll give it a couple more minutes with the stream, and then I'll switch it off. Thanks for watching. Thanks for putting up with me. I've enjoyed it. Happy painting, and have a great week, and stay safe, everybody. Just keep safe. All the best. Bye bye for now. Bye bye, Wendy. Thank you so much. Hello, goodbye, Judy. Well, hopefully you can join us on Friday and enjoy a watercolor with me then, and we'll see how we go. Sorry that you had such problems. Bye, I Like Transport. Thank you very much. Jamie, bye. Teresa, cheerio. Enjoy my beer. I so am going to enjoy my beer. Looking forward to Friday. Yeah, I am too. God knows what I'm going to paint, but hopefully it will be a landscape, I think. We'll see how we go.